of the SABC, looking at the digital drive from the SABC. But for now, Veli Ngubane is with me. He's the executive creative director and founder of the agency Avatar, talking about the born-free generation. Veli, do I have you there? Hi. Okay, we're just trying to battle to connect with him for now. Veli, hi.
Hi, Ashraf. How are you doing?
Hi, yeah, good chatting to you, man. Thank you. Veli, let's talk about this. Appropriate, it's Youth Day. There's a significant signpost, June 16, 1976, all those years ago. How in fact, do we market, therefore, to what is called the born-free generation?
No, I think the big thing is that this is a new market. So I think we have to start understanding how they interact with brands, and most importantly, race and politics around that. So, I mean, our job is simple, really, is to use the message to convince the target market to perform a certain action. So how are we as agencies understanding this market, first of all, and how are we communicating with a technology-first market? And I think those really are the big issues around it. It's around understanding this new market that 19 years later, 20 years next year, becomes economically active, and how do agencies structure their messaging to convince this market?
So how in fact do agencies do that? Because, I mean, amongst those questions, the one question would be, is that market a colorblind market? If all are born free, then by its definition, none of them would or should understand what happened before those that were not free were born. You know, that period before 94.
Yeah, I think the critical thing is that this is a technology market. You know, this is a market that expresses their way through social media. This is a market that was born with a phone and actually made sure that they communicate in that way. So I think the big thing is an integrated messaging where, unlike before, where you could only use one medium, say television. I think this market responds well to an integrated market where the brand is not only pushing the message, but they're actually communicating and pushing the message brand back and actually telling the brand what they think about it. So it's an era of a two-way communication that is established by this market through the advent of technology and being able to use technology to communicate back with brands. And I think that's the key differentiator. You know, I was actually thinking this morning, brands of yesteryear told us what to do. I remember an ad that went something like "Umungayazi pine nut awazi lutho." That means if you don't know pine nut, you don't know anything. So now, for the first time, the youth market and the born-free market can actually challenge that, and they can actually talk back to brands. And I think that actually is the key differentiator with this market.
All right. So who, in your opinion, is doing it right? Whether it's agencies or whether it's actual brands?
I think the brands that are really doing it right are the cell phone brands. I think they've got multiple touch points, and I think as an agency, you know, as Avatar, it's being able to take a concept and actually integrate it in so many mediums so that they have different touch points, you know, because really it's actually an understanding how do they consume this media. You know, we've got something called the second screen now. When people are watching a TV ad, they're on their cell phones, they're on social media. So how do we tap into that activity? How do we actually use multiple mediums to actually capture this market? So, and I think the cell phone brands are doing it quite actively, naturally, because they're a technology market. But I think the core issue really is how do we use technology to integrate an idea from concept? You know, because gone are the days where your digital agency is almost like the poorer brother of an above the line agency where they come in at the end of the campaign. I think for now the brands that do it well are the brands that have technology and digital at the core from the beginning, you know, of the idea. So that is actually the critical thing. I mean, the brands that will do it right are the brands that think technology and how to integrate an idea into technology. Unlike past years where the digital agency was almost roped in at the end. So it's the agencies that can integrate messages and actually use multiple mediums to capture this market.
Now, having said that, are you suggesting, and you mentioned the mobile companies, and I think they're obviously great examples of that anyway, but are you suggesting the others are in fact not doing that? They don't understand this market and therefore they're not tapping into this lucrative market?
I don't think they do. And I think the core of it, as I was saying, the core of it is being able to use multiple touch points as an agency. So the era of just shooting this great TV ad to capture that market is gone. It's an idea that says, how do we use multiple touch points to actually get these people where they are. How do we use social media? How do we use digital in the idea? And I think the brands that are going to be doing it well going forward are the brands that can integrate, are the brands that can actually have an idea that has multiple touch points that can actually capture the attention of this market. Because I don't know whether you have children, trying to get the attention of this born-free generation, even in conversation, is getting even more and more difficult. So how do brands actually enter that space to capture their thoughts about brands and actually position themselves?
Well, as I talk to you, my son's just tweeted me as I'm talking to you about promoting an event which is where he's emceeing an anti-drug campaign. I mean, that's exactly what you're saying.
They're multitaskers,
Different ways we can talk. Yeah. Now, just lastly, then, I mean, the issue of the color blindedness. We often have these chats about segmented markets and either people are the same or they're in fact not the same. How should you market? If we're looking at born frees, do we market them as all South Africans or in fact South Africans of different backgrounds based upon their color?
I think that's the key issue, and I think their connection to race is different. I think it's starting to be more about geography and class more than race. It's about access to opportunities. I think. As you know, we have become a society that is obsessed by race. And I don't think the born-free generation is that obsessed about race. And I think it's about opportunities and it's about brands being able to harness their ambition. So I think the big thing really is to how do we facilitate the ambition. I read a study the other day about how positive they are about their future in this country. So I think the race thing, and I think it also impacts on issues of language, We're starting to be an English-first society, and I come from rural Natal, Manguzi, where even that brands that communicate in English are seen almost as better than brands that communicate in a vernacular language. And now the big thing is to say, is race still important? I don't think so. I think it's more about brands being able to express a message that appeals to that market. And I think the things, and I think that's the key differentiator from the old market to this new market, to say they're all about opportunities. They're forward moving. They look at the country as their oyster, really. And I think the big thing, talking about sort of like the political realm, is how do now political parties market to these brands? And I think that's an interesting topic on its own, to say how will political parties capture this market, because it's a totally new market even in voting. And I think next year's election is going to be a pivotal one to see how these people behave. I think they're 19 at the moment, they're eligible to vote, and I think to see how political parties try to capture this market will be a very interesting one going forward.
Okay, interesting one there. Well, thanks so much for your time. Fascinating chat, and sure we'll talk about some specific examples that you guys have done, sometime in the future. All right.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Ashraf.
Veli Ngubane, the Executive Creative Director and the founder of the agency Avatar. Interesting. How do you actually think about